Vice News analyst EMMANUEL joins us now in the studio to look at this in more detail. We're also going to have some more guests joining us for a very robust conversation on Edo State. Mr. EFENI, it's great to have you on with us to look into the gubernatorials in Edo taking place tomorrow. Let's start off with the stories that we have just gone through here. Namely, there has been a curfew placed now. The IGP has come out to place a curfew on vehicular movement, kicking off at midnight today. Over to you.
Well, restriction on vehicular movement to ensure that persons don't come from outside the states to disrupt activities, and of course to ensure that there are no movements of arms, ammunition, hard drugs. So that in itself is quite a welcome development, because don't forget that Edo is a transit state connecting the southeast and the southwest, as well as connecting the northern states. So there are various entry points from other states. So it's a good thing that those entry points are being closed at midnight Friday, and Thursday midnight. And for now, that is the situation. But from the president of the country, President Muhammadu Buhari, has also come some reassuring words that Nigerians, and indeed the Edo people and all stakeholders should see this as just another election, not a do or die affair. And he has sent that message to all stakeholders, the electoral umpired, INEC, as well as the security agencies, on the need to ensure that our election, in this case the Edo election, meets known standard for proper elections using world best practices. So that's admonition coming from the president. For the security agencies, it should be seen as a marching order that the commander-in-chief is giving to them to ensure that there is no violence in this election, that persons who have such intention to perpetrate violence are not given the space to do so, because we don't want a situation where we have 31,000 policemen on ground. Policemen alone, in addition to other security agencies, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, as well as even there are soldiers who are also on the periphery, because the police is the lead security agencies when it comes to election day matters. After all this deployment, we don't want to hear a situation that some thugs overwhelm policemen at a particular police station or in certain areas, and that will not become the story of the day. So we hope the police and other security agencies will take the admonition of the president as a marching order to ensure that there is peace, and that the citizens of Edo State are able to go out, cast their votes peacefully, and choose their leader for the next 4 years.
All right, EMMANUEL, we're going to keep you on pause. Let's bring in TEMITOPE SHABA. TEMITOPE, glad to have you join us on Newsday. You have been monitoring the elections. I mean, your organization, CODA, you've been monitoring the Coalition of Democrats on Electoral Reforms. You've been monitoring the elections, upcoming elections in Edo State, and the political developments there. Tell us your findings.
Yes, when we first came initially to Edo State, there was tension everywhere. People were afraid. We interacted with citizens of Edo State, and all of them were afraid of what will happen in the upcoming elections. But with the intervention from the Oba of Benin, the intervention, the peace accord that was signed by the candidates, and then the presence of the policemen, 31,000 of them, in the Benin metropolis, you can say that they have been able to douse that tension. But our fear is that the riverine areas and some other areas that this information, or they don't have access to what is really going on in Benin and in the city, in the metropolis, that some people may that wants to foment trouble may still have their way.
All right, let's cross over to Benin City, where several of the polling votes will be going down. Of course, elections at the state capital. We have our correspondent in Edo State, TOKUNBO TAIWO. TOKUNBO, I want to find out from you. We hear that there is an interagency show of force that is to go down, which is supposed to be a coordinated effort between the NCDC, the Nigeria Air Force, the Federal Road Safety Corps, the Nigeria Correction Service, the Nigeria Immigration Service, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agencies, and also the police. We hear have deployed well over 70 vans there to probably try to keep the peace in Edo State. Talk to Robos. What is on ground? How is the security present there in Benin?
Police security and security personnel here in Benin City. We're actually here at Ring Road at the moment. From all of our observations regarding what's taking place here in Benin City, the security agencies are definitely liaising and working hand in hand to make sure there's a free, fair and credible election. From what we know as well, the police are going to be deploying as much as 31,000 police officers with regards to the elections. And from what we also heard as well, they'll be sending in at least 3 police officers in each polling unit that will be here in Benin. But some people have said that even though that's likely to happen here in Benin, it may not be the case in other local government areas. But from what we know, at least 3 police officers are meant to be in each polling station.
TOKUNBO, I don't think you got my question.
Edo State.
Probably you answered one part of my question. The second part of my question I'm talking about has to do with what is on ground right now. Are you feeling the presence of security agents at the moment leading up to the election?
Absolutely. Absolutely, that's what I'm saying. Basically, there's been a lot of, in fact, we're at Ring Road here, where a number of armed police officers have actually just patrolled. There's a lot of patrolling going around, and there's a lot of security presence, especially at the hotspots in Benin City. The CBN area is heavily guarded. The INEC office as well is heavily guarded. Even the residences of the 2 major political candidates are heavily guarded as well, and GRA generally is guarded. But I can also say the same for a lot of security personnel patrolling all the other areas. I've got a number of people here who would like to, who are here at the moment, who would like to talk about the election. And first up, we have Joseph, who is a pastor. Joseph, tell us, what are your expectations regarding the elections come tomorrow? Are you going to be voting?
Thank you very much. Yes, I will be going to vote. My family members, my church members, my workers will be going there to vote tomorrow.
Okay. Do you have any kind of fears whatsoever regarding any kind of violence taking place tomorrow?
There's no fear with the security personnel on ground. Only this election is holding only in Edo State now, so the whole federation, they are concentrating on Edo State. So we have no fear. We have seen a lot of hours at the police headquarters the other day. I saw the policemen there. We saw the military. We saw the DSS. We are not afraid. We are not afraid. We'll go out tomorrow to vote.
Do you think that the elections will be free, fair and credible?
That is what we are expecting. That's what we are expecting. We are very optimistic that it will be free, fair, and credible. That is why we are going there to vote. Some persons feel, oh, what is the essence of voting? Our vote will not count. I'm against that. We're going there to vote, and I believe my vote will count. I'm going to vote the candidate of my choice, and my family members will vote the candidate of their choice. My church members will vote the candidate of their choice.
All right then, Joseph, thank you very much. Thank you very much. That was Joseph, a pastor who is giving his own opinion regarding the elections come tomorrow. We've also got someone else here. Kindly introduce yourself and tell us your name and what you do for a living.
My name is Collins Omoajakaye. I'm a business person.
Okay, tell us about your thoughts regarding the election. Are you going to be voting, and will you come out to vote, and your thoughts generally?
Generally, I believe that this election is going to make a difference in Nigeria, in the sense that the whole world is after the election to know what is going to transpire. Because of that, we have no fear. We have no doubt that it's going to be free and fair. Because to the personnel that we have on ground, and talking about the security, we know if they are really there to do their job, nobody will be there nobody will be bold enough to come out and mixed up. You understand? With us in Benin here, we are very confident that this election is going to be free and fair. We don't have that. I believe that other people, they are also having this mindset that they will come out and vote for the candidate of their choice, and their vote will count.
All right, then, thank you very much. So we can hear from someone else coming right up. Tell us your name and what you do for a living.
I'm Ambassador Sarah Lewis, and I'm a businessman also, so that's it. So I just want a free and fair, credible election come tomorrow. And I want to all the people of Benin City and Edo State at large to not have fear of any ringing or anything. Just come and cast your vote. If you want to defend your vote, you can easily defend your vote so that everything will be smoothly. And I want to use this medium to appeal to the federal government of Nigeria to make sure that Edo State elections should be a focus point for a credible and a free and fair election come tomorrow. The whole world is interested about this election. Nigeria at large is interested because this is the only election that is going on right now in the nation. So everybody is interested to know what really will happen in this election. We are having a little bit of fear that probably this election will be ring or something. But yesterday, with what I've been seeing on ground since the past few days, I know that, hey, there will not be any ringing, and the federal government have assured us, INEC have assured us, the police have assured us that there will not be ringing. Just go out there, cast your vote. Please, the people of Edo State, the people of Benin City, the people of every part you are in this state, please come out, cast your vote. Make sure you vote and vote for the person of your choice. Vote, not fight. It's not a war. It's not a do or die affair. We can still be brothers tomorrow. Irrespective of the political party you belong to, vote your choice and go home peacefully. Let this election be free and fair. I beg the federal government of Nigeria. Thank you.
Then, thank you very much. Just before we go, we've got one more person, a lady this time around. It will be interesting to sort of hear what she has to say. If you can come forward and tell us your name and what you do for a living.
Okay, my name is Mrs. Olayinka Ojewale. I'm a teacher.
Okay, brilliant. Tell us, are you going to be voting in tomorrow's election?
Well, for me, it's unfortunate because I registered in Lagos State. But my husband is definitely going to vote here in Edo State.
What can you say about the level of security and the preparedness of INEC and the officials and security personnel with regards to this election?
Wow, concerning the securities, wow. Tomorrow is election and everywhere is calm. Everybody is going easy, no fighting, nothing. Everywhere is just calm. That means the security is wow.
All right, then tell me, before I let you go, 3 qualities that you're looking for in the next governor.
Wow. Sincerity, honesty, accountability.
How would you feel with regards to the elections, you know, if they say it's been declared inconclusive?
Wow, inconclusive? Well, I'm not expecting that. So I don't have an answer for that because I'm not expecting an election that will be inconclusive.
All right, then, thank you very much. Like you heard the lady say, there's a lot of expectation here regarding the elections taking place tomorrow. They're not looking for anything that is going to be inconclusive. Everybody is gearing and getting ready for the elections for those that want to vote. Initially, I was a bit apprehensive that there might be some voter apathy, but it doesn't look like that's going to be happening here at all in Benin City. People are ready. The parties are ready. INEC, the electoral umpire, is also ready. And so it'll be interesting to sort of bring you up to date tomorrow while the elections are taking place tomorrow. And that's all we have from here in Ring Road in Benin City.
Many thanks to you, Arise correspondent TOKUNBO TAIWO, for the updates. Hopefully we will be catching up with you later on in the course of the day to get more updates from you. Mr. EFENI, let me bring you back in now, Arise News Analyst. Let's look into some more numbers here now, because we do have data regarding the local government areas in Edo State and how things are currently faring. And from what we can see, APC does seem to have a stronghold in Edo North, but Edo South seems to be the decider tomorrow. 58% of votes are going to come from there. And both the PDP and the APC, of course, the 2 major contenders, are both faring on the exact same grounds, really, in Edo South. What is your take on the way these statistics are currently looking?
Well, in terms of the voters for tomorrow, the total number of those who are qualified to vote, those who have collected their PVCs, that number is 1,377,765. Of course, majority of the voters are in Edo South, the main urban areas, where both leading candidates, Osagi Ezeyamu and Godwin Obaseki, comes from. So that in itself will be an area of battle, as it were, for votes between both parties. And both parties spent quite substantial time campaigning word to word in the local governments in Edo South, where both candidates come from. In Edo North, yes, that is the homestead of the erstwhile chairman of the APC and two-time governor of the state, Adams Oshiomhole. And that is also the homestead of the deputy governor, Philip Shuaibu. Both once very close allies, and now they are on different sides of the political divide. Expectedly, that area will be an area where both parties, APC and the PDP, will be battling for votes. And we just hope that there will be peace and that the place will be well policed so that the people of Edo North will also go out and vote peacefully. Because both parties, they happen to know themselves very well because they've been allies all this while. They've been together all this while. So they know their tricks, they know their tactics. And everybody will want to outdo the other. So it's going to be tough in Edo North. That is in terms of votes pulled by the people. In Edo North, where you have the chairman, Adams Oshiomhole, who has taken this election also very personal because he has been on the podium everywhere Pastor Ezeyamu went, and doing most of the talking and campaigning as he did 4 years ago. So there it will be tough. But in Edo Central, there you have the least number of votes when you relatively compared to the other zones. What we expect in Edo State is also to be keenly contested. In Edo Central, it will be keenly contested. But if you also know that the people of Edo Central are hoping that in 2023, their son should be the next governor, chances are that they will throw their weight behind the incumbent governor, who has, if he wins, will do just 4 years and go. But if, in their own calculation, the candidate of the APC wins, he will want to do his second term, which will also further push the ambition of Edo Central to produce a governor in 2023. So all this will be on show and at stake come tomorrow. But again, it's the people and the people who will decide.
Definitely, EMMANUEL, from the analysis there, it's looking like it's just half and half. You know, some places you have APC, PDP, and then you have a PDP holding sway, APC holding sway equally. You know, looks like it's balanced, except for I think it was a dose out. But I'm going to have to, again, thank you for the analysis. Keep you on hold. Let's go to TEMITOPE SHABA. TEMITOPE, you talked about indicators of violence from what you and some other CSOs have observed so far. What are some of these indicators? That's one. And your submission is that if not addressed, they portend a bleak future for the Edo elections and the state. Have these indicators been addressed in your own evaluation or calculation?
Very much. Let me start by appreciating the synergy that exists among civil society organizations, and especially those who have taken the lead to analyze, to undertake a survey and analyze the situation in Edo before we come in to observe the elections. What they came up with is that there were indicators such as women being harassed at political rallies, indicators such as stockpiling of small arms and light weapons, in some places buying PVC and so on and so forth. Yes, the peace accord signed, the statement issued by the United States and the United Kingdom to ban anybody that they identify to have encouraged or participated in electoral fraud and so on and so forth to be banned from entering their countries. And the statement that the IG of police has made, the show of force around Edo, around Benin. Yesterday, you could see processions and police moving around just to show people that they are around. I will agree that, yes, tension has kind of been doused and they are trying to address some of these issues. But what I would like to speak to is that the report came out to say that 13 out of 18 local governments are flashpoints in Edo State. And so I know some of these local governments have the presence of the security agencies on election duty, but we need to really focus on not just at the center, but we need to also focus at the other local governments that are mentioned in the report. And then I also want to say that we need to treat this election not as we shouldn't treat it as an event. We should treat it as a process. In this regard, we have done we've done pre-election observation. Tomorrow is the election, and then subsequently, post-election is very, very important. So I will encourage the security forces and other stakeholders to ensure that we don't just conclude, we don't wrap up our activities come after elections tomorrow. We still need to observe what happens after the election. We still need to maintain the peace after the election. So it is very, very important that we take some of the recommendations that came up from the reports carried out, undertaken from the survey undertaken by civil society organizations seriously, so that but to answer your question directly, I think some of the issues thrown up in the report are being addressed. That's how I would like to put it.
So let's come back to EMMANUEL EFENI in the studio here, and I want to find out, because the last time these two political gladiators actually went head to head, it was Obaseki that actually won with about 63,000 votes. Over 63,000 votes was the difference. This time around, a lot of people are saying it is too close to call. Are we going to be expecting a huge margin this time around, or how do you think things will play out? And would it be a close contest? And TOKUNBO also spoke about the fact that we've heard about inconclusive elections, and this has played out heavily. Looking at what happened in Osun State, which a lot of people frowned at, which they felt didn't go to the deserved person. It's still subjective, but let's get to hear from you concerning how things will play out. And also, do you think, should it be right, or do you think that these elections will be inconclusive at some point if it doesn't go as maybe it's being planned?
Well, it's the people of Edo State who will decide who wins the election. It's not as anybody planned. So we expect that the election should be conclusive. There will be no reason for the election to be inconclusive because Edo State terrain is not difficult. Yes, we have seen inconclusive election in the past, and you will agree that when some of these elections were declared inconclusive, it sounded strange. So we are not expecting a strange development in Edo State, because after the election, of course, the votes will be counted, unless there is violence of unimaginable proportion that will overwhelm the security agencies, and that will be a big surprise to everybody. That this election, once the voting is concluded, counting concluded, collation concluded, we expect a result and a winner declared.
The reason why I brought about this question is because Osun State should have been pretty straightforward. But we are looking at 2,626 polling units across Edo State. The possibility cannot be ruled out that then we might be looking at having an inconclusive election if some people or those moving the chess pieces decide that it didn't go the way they wanted it to be. What can be done to ensure that this does not happen?
Well, I am standing on the fact that I don't expect to see an inconclusive election in Edo State. You know, it has always been, there's been this sing-song, Edo is not, maybe Edo is not Oshun, if I want to add that. Edo is not Oshun, so we don't expect to see an inconclusive election. The Edo people will vote, their votes will be counted, and the ballots will be, the election result will be compiled, and we expect a winner to be declared.
Thanks, Mr. EFENI. Do hold on, hold your thoughts, and if we can ask our guest as well to please hold your thoughts as well, TEMITOPE. We will come back to you in just a moment.
Quite some issues have been raised, EFENI and EMMANUEL and TEMITOPE. Okay, let me start with the last issues, because you see, almost all the time, just like he said, it's always between the parties, peace accord, between the contenders, whatever is done between the contenders. Much attention doesn't seem to get paid to the voters who will vote. So he says, how do we move from legislation to organizing voters, the electorate, to rise up and defend their mandate? Respond to that question. In responding to that question, okay, just respond to that. I have so many other issues to raise, but just respond to that question, TEMITOPE.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, you are correct that oftentimes we pay attention to the candidates, we pay attention to political parties, but not much attention is paid to the voters themselves. If I may come from this angle that it is the duty of political parties not to go to rest after winning an election, and I'm talking of periods before now. If you have been in communities, sensitizing them and letting them know your programs and all that, and then they will be prepared to, I mean, you will have been able to gauge the level of the success you will have in an election, instead of this fire brigade approach of trying to win at all costs, the moment INEC announces when election will be taking place. I think sensitization of voters is very important. INEC does this, but I believe much still needs to be done in that regard, because a voter that is aware of the value of the ballot, you know, we make an informed decision about who to vote for. And it's very, very important that beyond the attention we pay to security, we pay to political parties and electioneering and the rest of it, we need to also look at this critical aspect of sensitizing voters, letting them know what is really going on. When that begins to happen, it will be about performance. It will be about what they hope to gain not as individuals, but as a community. You know, from what the candidates are selling to them, and not just succumb to the fire brigade approach that candidates try to pull to win at all costs.
I mean, you're spot on there, TEMITOPE, with that. The sensitization of voters is something that we cannot underestimate in any way whatsoever. I'm going to stay on you for a second and ask you this. When we crossed over live to Benin to speak to our correspondent, TOKUNBO TAIWO, one thing I noticed around Ring Road in Benin is not a single person was wearing a face mask. I didn't see one person wearing a face mask. How do you see this playing out in tomorrow's election, seeing as, of course, there are COVID-19 protocols in place? Can we be certain that these protocols will be followed? It doesn't look as though there's any enforcement.
Thank you very much for that question. Immediately I got into Benin, I have my face mask, you know, on, and I've been like the odd man, like a fish out of water, because you are the only one in the midst of how many people putting on face masks. So your observation is very correct. not many people in Benin metropolis are putting on masks and all that here. In fact, I've heard statements made by people saying there's no COVID in Edo, we've never had COVID, and they come up with other kinds of theories to prove that they don't have COVID. So tomorrow, INEC has a policy on COVID-19 as regarding this particular election. And for instance, all the observers on the field will be implementing the protocol of INEC as far as COVID-19 is concerned. And all the voters that are coming out tomorrow, they are expected to put on their mask. And so maybe, I'm still waiting to see how this will play out, because I know that we are to maintain physical distancing. And then those who don't put on their mask, INEC has issued, I believe, a statement in that regard. But your observation, again, I must say, is correct. And it's very, very important that while we are voting tomorrow, we do not contract COVID-19. And so as such, INEC needs to really step up and enforce. Perhaps a statement still needs to go out. The day is still young to encourage voters to put on their mask. And then when they get to polling units, to ensure they maintain physical distancing so that we can help curb this pandemic.
All right, many thanks to you. But before we go, let's actually bring in Arise Analyst once again. And EMMANUEL, we want to find out from you concerning, we've spoken about violence, but we've seen the police being used as an agent of detraction in probably dissuading those that have come to vote in several instances, and playing major focus on those places that might become flashpoints, or those places that are becoming boiling points in terms of violence. What is expected? What should the police actually do? What is expected, especially in the fact knowing that policemen cannot take arms to polling units?
Well, first, the issue of focusing on politicians and not the people. The focus is so much on politicians, because when people go out to cause mayhem and create violence on election day, they don't just do it spontaneously. It is usually orchestrated by politicians, planned by politicians who arm thugs to go and carry out these kind of activities on election day. So the focus has been on the politicians. But even when the people want to defend their votes, if a group of thugs are coming, they are armed, the people will have to leave in order not to just get yourself caught in the crossfire. But the emphasis now has to be on the security agencies. And you asked about police, whether they will be fair, whether they will live above board and not be compromised. That is where we should also focus attention. And the speech of the president yesterday, which was reported by his press, his media aide, that the police and all stakeholders, security agencies, must ensure that the democratic standards in the country continue to improve.
Emmanuel, we will leave it there for now. Thank you so much for your analysis. In-house analyst Emmanuel, and of course, TEMITOPE SHABA, the Coalition of Democrats on Electoral Reforms. We'd like to thank you too. And of course, we had our correspondent, TOKUNBO TAIWO, in Edo State on elections coming tomorrow.